Welcome to this week's special presentation titled Finding Industry and Sector Leaders with Unisearch. My name is Todd Shaffer, Manager of Research for VectorVest, and I will be your presenter this evening. VectorVest is all about putting the odds in our favor when trading. That means buy great stocks that are rising in price when the market is rising. And we'll focus on tonight when their industry or sector group is rising as well. If you'd like more information on this topic, we have covered it in the past, and I offer you this list of resources for your study. But let's do a quick review of why industry and sector performance are important. We'll begin with how industries and sectors segment the broad market. On this graphic, we see that we first segment the overall market into sectors. In the VectorVest system, we use 41 different sectors to group these like businesses together. Each sector is then made up of several industries where we have a more narrowly focused grouping of those businesses. We currently have 222 industries within the database, and then each of those industries is made up of the component stocks. But with this understanding of how we segment the market, why is this important? Well, it's important because birds of a feather flock together. Stocks within a given industry or sector tend to perform consistently across the group as they're operating under similar ecosystems. VectorVest analyzes industry groups and business sectors the same way it analyzes individual stocks. In fact, the metrics for the industry and sector are simply an average of all the component stocks of that industry or sector. Let's take a look. From the VectorVest homepage, we'll come to the top of the screen and click on the Viewers tab. And the viewers we'll be working with today are the Stock Viewer, the Industry Viewer, and the Sector Viewer. Now remember, when we looked at our segmentation model, the broad market was first broken into sectors. And we see that there are 41 sectors in the VectorVest database. If I double-click on the petroleum sector, I drill down into the sector and I can see the petroleum sector is broken down into 10 industries. If I double click on an industry, I can drill down to the component stocks within that industry. So let's back up to the sector viewer, and I'll close the viewers window so we have more real estate. Notice that petroleum sector has internal data points just like any stock would have. All of these values are simply the average values of the component stocks within that sector. If I right-click on the sector, I can view all of the stocks in the business sector. And I note there are 362 stocks in the broader sector. Notice also that now that I'm in the stock list, our default sort is by VST. But when I was looking at the sector or the industry lists, they're sorted by RT. So when we're looking at industry and sectors, we look to the RT indicator as our default. And that's because when looking at industries and sectors, relative timing or price trend is the key indicator we want to use when analyzing industry group and business sector performance. So let me demonstrate the power of this analysis. I'm going to change back to the industry viewer, and so now we have a list of all the 222 industries in the database listed by RT descending. So our fastest rising industry is the petroleum refining and marketing industry. I'll double click on the industry, and now we have a list of all 29 stocks in the industry in VST descending order. So the first thing I'd have you notice is of the 29 stocks in this list, how many of them have sell ratings? I find just 2. In fact, if I sort the list by RT, I find that all but those 2 are in uptrends, even though many have very weak fundamentals. So the idea is that many of these stocks are being pulled higher simply because they're in an industry that's in favor by the market. Let's close the petroleum industry and see if this is true for the retail jewelry industry. Only 8 stocks in this industry, so a little bit thinner industry. Of those 8, we have 1 sell-rated stock. We have 2 stocks that are in downtrends, but again, some that have some pretty weak fundamentals that are still being favored. And let's just try our third top performing industry, the retail apparel industry. Here we have 47 stocks. By my count, 7 that have sell ratings, 10 that are in downtrend, but many of those who are in uptrends, again, have weak fundamentals. So we see the power of buying stocks that are members of the strongest uptrending industries and sectors. Of course, when it comes to choosing which stocks to buy, let's sort by VST and look for the leaders of the cohort, those with the strongest relative value, relative safety, and relative timing scores in combination. And of course, it's no surprise that we often find that top VST stocks are the best of breed within their industries and sectors. So to test our theory, let's see how it works at the opposite end of the spectrum to the downside. Back in the industry viewer, let's resort our list by RT ascending. We now have at the top of the list the industries that are in the strongest declines. So the crypto stocks as a group are in the strongest downtrend. If I double click the industry, there are 15 stocks in the industry, no buy ratings, none of the stocks in an uptrend, and of course with this group, none of them with strong fundamentals. Let's take a look at the next industry, which is home miscellaneous wares. Here we have 7 stocks in the industry, no buy ratings, 1 stock that's in an uptrend, and of course even those with acceptable fundamentals are being pulled down by the rest of the industry group. Finally, computer memory devices. 11 stocks in this group, 2 buy ratings. Those are the 2 stocks that are in uptrends by virtue of their RT score, even though several have some acceptable fundamental strength. Of course, as a matter of practical application, these would be candidates for us to short the market. So we'd want the broad market to be falling, look for falling industries, and of course, sort VST ascending to find the weakest stocks that have a high enough price to be shorting candidates. So with this quick demonstration, you can see why this analysis is so powerful. Coming back to the list of industries, remember our default sort is to look at the industries RT descending. At the top of our list then are the industries that are in the strongest established uptrends. We call these guys the high flyers. But of course, industries and sectors are rotating all the time. So it can be helpful to understand which industries and sectors are moving up and which ones are pulling back. So graphically, if RT is on the continuum of 0 to 2, those high flyers are at the upper range of that 0 to 2 scale. The movers and shakers are those that are moving up in rank, particularly those that are outside the top performers. Stated another way, if we have a list of industries and their RT rank, this industry A is the highest ranked RT value industry in the database, and we do provide the RT rank as a data point, then the high flyers are those that are established at the top of the list. The movers and shakers are those who are moving up within the list. And I'd like to remind you at this point that remember, if the industry is moving up in rank, its rank number is actually moving lower in value. So, for example, if I wanted to find industries that were in the top 10 by rank, I would look for a rank value less than 10. So with that background, the next question is, how do you find these great stocks in hot industries? Well, as I demonstrated, you can use the Viewers tab within the VectorVest system to manually go through those leading industries and sectors to find the stocks there. Or we can use the power of VectorVest and use the Unisearch tool, which makes it easy to find the high flyers and the movers and shakers. There are three primary indicators we use when we're trying to identify the movement of these industries and sectors. They are RT, RT rank, and the industries or the sector's price. Let's move back into the program. From our Home tab, we'll now go into the Unisearch tool. And let's discuss the building blocks we'll use when looking for our industry leaders, whether they're high flyers or movers and shakers. First, we'll use our filtering function, where we'll filter our stocks by their industry group. We can choose equals or does not equal. For our value, we'll look first at sorted industries. Here we have several choices pre-built. For instance, top 10 industries by virtue of their RT score. We also have a custom choice, so you can enter values of your own choice. Remember to change the indicator, in this case to RT. Running the search, we find a list of stocks sorted by VST with the industry's RT value in the first column. So all of these stocks, if I scroll to the right, are in the top 10 industries by virtue of their RT score, which equates to their RT rank. And so I have a lot of overlap. And so when I'm looking at a list like this, I want to make sure to enforce my sector or industry diversification when I come to trading the stocks. Of course, in the Portfolio Genius, that sector and industry diversification is automated. To find our movers and shakers, to find the stocks in the industries that are accelerating the fastest, we'll change our filter from sorted industries to top delta industries. Delta measures the change in value over time of any indicator, expressed in percentage. And so we'll look at a change in the RT value over time. Again, we have some preloaded intervals. For instance, we'll look at the highest 10 industries by virtue of their change in RT value over the last 10 days. Or if I come to the bottom again, I can choose intervals of my own choosing. So here I'm looking for the highest 10 industries by virtue of their 10-day RT delta. I'm still looking for only 10 industries, but this time the 10 industries that have had the biggest changes in their delta value. Again, we see that industry overlap, but if we scroll back to the left, we see the industry's RT delta, and we see it's a list of stocks in VST order. Now, the 10-day period is a nice starting point. It's 2 weeks. That's a long enough period to establish some trend, not so long that we see pre-market bias. But some other popular intervals are to look at a 13-week delta, which is a quarter. And we also often will look at a 52-week delta. Another very powerful use is to select a time frame that coincides with the market move, for instance, off of a pivot low, to find leadership coming off of that low. For our final building block, let's change our parameter to the industry's RT value. So we're going to look for an industry RT greater than a custom value of 1. In other words, show me stocks now that are in industries that have an RT value above 1. If I run the search, All of the stocks that are in those uptrending industries are listed by VST order. Again, we'll have a lot of overlap, so you want to make sure to enforce industry and sector diversification. And now to take it to the next level, we can combine these building blocks with the other Unisearches within our Unisearch tool. So as we open the searches window, there are search groups that already look for the delta operators. So those can be good starting places. But I can also use my favorite search. So for instance, I like searches prudent and top VST stocks. This search sorts our stocks by VST descending, looks for stocks who are priced above $1 and have 100,000 shares of average volume, so they have liquidity. We limit them from contra ETFs and from the secondary exchanges, and no contra ETFs. So all those parameters that make the search function, and now I can add, for instance, hey, you know what? Of those top VST stocks, only show me the ones that have an industry RT greater than 1. Show me the stocks that are in rising industries, still sorted by their VST score. Or let's use our filter tool. Show me stocks filtered by their industry group. Just show me stocks that are in the top 10 industries. And finally, show me those stocks that are in the industries that are moving and shaking by taking a look at the top delta industries that are on the highest 10 by virtue of their 10-day change in RT. Here are the stocks that are in those fastest accelerating industries sorted by VST. Again, beware of overlap. So a lot of information in this overview of the industry and sector tools within VectorVest. But I hope I've given you a sense of the power of the analysis and the ease with which it can be accomplished in the VectorVest tool. But for now, I'll close the presentation. Thank you for watching.